11 quiet signs she might be thinking about coming back. Vertical bar psychology insights. There's a strange kind of silence that appears after a breakup. It's not shouting, not arguments, just emptiness. No good morning messages, no quick check-ins, no familiar rhythm between you anymore. Only quiet. For a man who has lived enough to understand how life works, that silence can mean two very different things: closure or reflection. As Rumi once suggested, the wound is where the light enters, because moments like these aren't only about whether she returns, they're about what that silence is doing inside her and inside you. Most men immediately assume silence means indifference, but psychology is rarely that simple. Sometimes silence becomes a pause, a private space where pride and longing wrestle with each other. It's the battle between "I shouldn't go back" and "I still miss him." Here's the mindset you must keep. You can't control her choice, but you can control your composure. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. That means you don't beg. You don't chase tiny clues like a detective with a broken heart. Instead, you stay steady and observe with clarity. In this video, we'll break down 11 quiet signs she might be thinking about coming back. These aren't dramatic confessions or emotional speeches. They're subtle, almost deniable behaviors that reveal what memory is quietly doing behind the scenes. Because the truth is simple, real feelings rarely appear loudly, they show up sideways, so pay attention. These signs are rarely noisy, but they are real. One of the first signs appears when she watches but never reaches out. She views your stories within minutes. She suddenly likes a photo you posted months ago. She scrolls through your updates as if they're part of her daily routine. Yet she never sends a message or opens the conversation, and you're left wondering if it means anything at all. The truth is, it does. Don't dismiss quiet attention as coincidence. In female psychology, distant observation is rarely random. When a woman keeps an eye on you from afar, she's often checking your emotional state. Are you thriving or falling apart? Have you replaced her or moved on? Are you still the same man she remembers? That silent observation is a classic psychological behavior that appears when pride and longing collide. She wants information without feeling vulnerable. She wants access without exposing herself. Imagine you post a photo from a weekend trip. You look relaxed, grounded, maybe even stronger than before. She doesn't say a word, but she watches every single story you post. That isn't indifference, that's curiosity wrapped in caution. And curiosity is rarely neutral. It carries emotion, it carries memory, it carries comparison. So remain calm enough to see it clearly. Don't rush to break the silence, searching for confirmation. Understand this: when someone studies you quietly, they're often measuring their own emotions against the progress they see in you. In female psychology, observation often feels safer than making the first move. It protects the ego while still feeding emotional attachment. She might be asking herself if falling in love again is possible without risking rejection. She might be replaying old memories, wondering if the connection still holds meaning. This is where many men lose control. They panic and rush to break the silence. Don't. If she's watching, she's already engaged on some level. That's information. That's emotional data. That's a small sign of investment, even if it's subtle. Psychological behaviors aren't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they appear as quiet tests. She's watching to see if you remain steady or become reactive, if you've grown or stayed the same, if you're bitter or composed. Your job is simple: show growth without trying to perform for her, live with strength without arrogance, and enjoy your life without trying to provoke a reaction from her. When she sees you doing well without reaching for her attention, it disrupts the expectations she once had. It forces her to reconsider things. It may even make her wonder how to fall for the version of you who no longer chases. Remember something important: people rarely keep watching someone they've completely moved on from. Attention is a form of currency. If she's still spending it on you, even quietly, it means there's still some value there. Don't exaggerate it, but don't ignore it either. Stay patient. Stay centered. Let her curiosity grow naturally in the quiet space between observing and reaching out. Emotions usually do one of two things with time. They fade away or they grow stronger. Your role isn't to force the outcome. Your role is simply to remain the kind of man worth watching. 2. She accidentally reaches out about something small. Sometimes a random message appears out of nowhere. Hey, did you ever end up finding that restaurant we talked about? Or, I saw something today that reminded me of you. On the surface it looks casual, harmless, almost meaningless. But don't be naive. Most of the time, it isn't really about the restaurant, and it's rarely about the random memory. It's a low-risk emotional check, a small tap on the glass to see if you're still there. In psychology, this is one of the most common subtle behaviors after a breakup. She's not just asking for information, she's testing emotional access. She wants to see how you respond. Are you warm? Are you cold? Do you sound needy? Or are you calm and centered? That's the real question hidden behind the message. Mature women rarely return with dramatic confessions or emotional speeches. Instead, they move carefully. They protect their pride. They protect their image. They don't say, "I miss you." They say, "Do you remember that place we went to?" That's subtlety. That's experience speaking. In female psychology, reconnection usually starts small, because small feels safe. If the conversation fails, she hasn't risked much. But if the interaction goes well, the door opens a little wider. Understand the emotional intelligence behind this move. It isn't random, it's intentional. And this is where many men make a mistake. They overreact. They read too much into it and send long paragraphs. Or they go the opposite direction and respond with cold indifference to protect their ego. Neither approach works. Instead, stay steady and grounded. A confident man doesn't treat a simple text like a marriage proposal, but he also doesn't treat it like an inconvenience. He replies calmly, briefly, warm, but not overly eager. That balance shows emotional control. It reflects confidence and masculine composure. Remember, attraction rarely reignites through pressure. It grows again through emotional safety and curiosity. When she reaches out in a small way, she's checking whether the emotional bridge between you still exists. If you respond with neediness, you weaken that bridge. If you respond with bitterness, you destroy it. But if you answer with relaxed confidence, you strengthen it. That's how a man with self-respect operates. He understands timing, he understands restraint, and he knows that earning attraction often begins with earning respect. Think about it this way. If she truly felt nothing at all, she wouldn't send a message in the first place. Silence would be easier. Even a small message requires intention. So when she says, "I saw something that reminded me of you," what she's really expressing is this: you still exist in her emotional world, and that matters. Don't dismiss it as meaningless, but don't exaggerate it either. Stay composed enough to recognize the moment without chasing it. This is where masculine presence becomes attractive. Not loud, not forceful, just calm and certain. A man who truly knows his value doesn't jump at crumbs, but he also doesn't ignore genuine invitations. He engages with poise. He allows the conversation to breathe. He doesn't rush to define what it means. Instead, he gives her space to invest more. That's how lasting attraction develops, through presence, patience, and self-control. Understand something deeper. Reconnection is rarely dramatic. It usually happens through a series of small openings. A message about a restaurant, a memory that resurfaces, a shared joke suddenly brought back to life. Each one is a thread. If handled well, those threads can slowly weave something meaningful again. But if handled poorly, they break. So when that accidental text arrives, Don't panic, don't celebrate too quickly, and definitely don't interrogate her motives. Stay centered. Be the version of yourself who has grown since the breakup. Let her hear the difference in your tone. Let her feel the shift in your energy without you announcing it. That quiet change is powerful. It signals that you're no longer reacting from old habits, you're responding from strength. Because in truth, it was never about the restaurant. It was about reconnection, and how you handle these small moments determines whether they grow into something larger or fade back into silence. If you're perceptive enough to see it clearly, you understand something important. When she accidentally reaches out about something small, it's rarely small. It's a low-risk signal. A careful step back into your orbit. A quiet test to see if the door is still open, and if you're still steady. Don't overreact. Don't overinvest. Stay balanced and respond with calm strength rather than excitement. That's how curiosity slowly turns into respect. Now consider another subtle sign. 3. She asks mutual friends about you. When a woman begins asking mutual friends how you're doing, understand this clearly, it's not random, and it's almost never accidental. If someone casually tells you that she asked about you, don't brush it off. Read the situation correctly. Many women gather information indirectly because it protects their pride and dignity. They don't always walk back through the front door right away. Sometimes they look through the window first. That isn't confusion, it's strategy. As Maya Angelou wisely said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. If she truly didn't care anymore, she wouldn't ask at all. Indifference stays silent. Curiosity speaks. And when that curiosity is about you, it means you still occupy space in her thoughts. In today's world, anyone can check social media in seconds. So when she chooses to ask mutual friends instead of simply scrolling through your profile, that choice carries meaning. It suggests emotional caution mixed with genuine interest. She wants information without exposing herself. She wants insight without vulnerability. That's human psychology. Your job is not to become emotional about it. Your job is to observe. Old Stoic philosophy teaches a simple discipline. Separate facts from assumptions. The fact is straightforward. She's checking on you through safe channels. The fantasy would be assuming that means she's already planning to come back. Don't chase. Don't react impulsively. Maintain your frame. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't control her pace or her decisions, but you can control your posture, your mindset, and the way you carry yourself. And this is where Stoic thinking becomes practical. It teaches you to remain steady regardless of what signals appear, curious, patient, and emotionally grounded, not philosophical. An iron mind does not celebrate too early and does not collapse into doubt. It watches, it waits, it improves. If she asks about your career, your health, your dating life, that is reconnaissance. She is measuring change. She is assessing whether the man she left is the same man standing now. Make sure he is not. Make sure he is sharper, calmer, stronger. In today's world where attention is currency and pride is fragile, indirect inquiry is often the first safe step back. Respect it, but do not reward it prematurely. Continue building your body, build your finances, expand your network, live visibly well. Let reports about you carry strength and stability. As Seneca reminded us, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If she is preparing emotionally, you must be prepared practically. That is the Stoic way in motion. That is old Stoic wisdom applied to modern relationships. Remember this, if she did not care, she would not ask. If she was finished, she would not gather information. Curiosity means the door is not fully closed, but you do not push doors. You stand firm, you improve, you cultivate an iron mind. Victory is not getting her back. Victory is becoming the man worth returning to. She brings up shared memories. If she suddenly texts, "Remember that trip to Chicago," or says, "I drove past that coffee shop we used to go to," don't brush it off as random small talk. Be sharp, Be observant. Shared memory is emotional glue, and in female psychology, nostalgia is rarely accidental. When a woman revisits moments the two of you once shared, she is not just recalling an event, she is reopening a feeling that is important. People don't rewind chapters that mean nothing to them. They replay what still carries emotional weight. Psychologically, memory acts as a bridge between past connection and present curiosity. When she brings up that rooftop dinner, that long drive, that inside joke, only the two of you understood. She is stepping back into the emotional atmosphere you once built together, and that atmosphere can quietly soften resistance. Don't assume it means she is ready to come back tomorrow. Don't rush to declare victory, but understand this clearly. When someone revisits shared experiences, it usually means they are processing the relationship internally. They are measuring what was lost against what they feel now. In the world of psychology, tricks nostalgia is one of the most subtle and powerful forces because it lowers defenses without confrontation. It allows her to feel connection without having to admit vulnerability. That is how to fall in love all over again. Sometimes it goes memory first, emotion second, action last. If she says that was such a fun weekend, she isn't just talking about the weekend. She's reminding herself how she felt with you, and feelings are the currency of female psychology. You must stay steady when this happens. Don't overanalyze. Don't interrogate. Don't respond with desperation, like "Do you miss us?" Instead, match her tone. Keep it warm but composed. "Yeah, that was a good time. I enjoyed that." That's enough. Be calm. Be grounded. Let her sit with the memory. When she brings up the coffee shop, she may be testing how it feels to emotionally reconnect. When she mentions a trip, she may be checking whether the emotional door is still open. These are subtle psychology tricks. She may not even realize she's doing it consciously. Memory often comes first, because it allows her to relive the safety, the laughter, the ease. Once those emotions are active, comparison begins. She may start comparing new experiences to the old ones she had with you. That comparison can work in your favor if you've remained composed and self-respecting. Understand this. You cannot force someone to return, but you can create space for emotion to breathe. When she revisits shared memories repeatedly, that pattern matters. One mention may be casual. Several mentions over time signal internal reflection. That is often how feelings reignite, not through pressure or persuasion, but through remembered emotion. Be patient, be disciplined. Don't chase the memory. Let it pull her. In female psychology, the heart often circles back before the ego does. If she is circling back to shared moments, she is likely circling back to shared feelings. Feelings, once reawakened, guide decisions quietly. If she keeps bringing up the past, don't ignore it, but don't get carried away by it either. Be calm, be aware. Nostalgia is not random, it's emotional glue. When she revisits shared memories, she's replaying the connection internally. That's your cue to stay steady, not desperate. Compare her tone now to how it sounded right after the breakup. Back then, it may have been clipped, guarded, short, "Okay, fine." One-word answers that carried distance. That tone wasn't random. It was protection, emotional armor. Now notice carefully. Is it less defensive? Less cold? More relaxed? That shift matters. A woman reconsidering doesn't argue. She observes. She softens. Tone carries intention. Words carry information. But tone reveals feelings. When her messages move from dry, minimal responses to full sentences, when she adds humor or playful comments, that is emotional temperature changing. Soft tone equals softened resistance, and softened resistance often means she no longer feels the need to protect herself from you. For men between 35 and 70, this is where maturity wins. Don't overreact. Don't call it out. Don't say, "You seem nicer now." That ruins the moment. Be grounded. A high-value man doesn't chase validation. He notices patterns, reads energy, stays centered. That is masculine energy, under control, calm, observant, unshaken. When a woman's tone softens, it often signals that the anger phase has cooled and reflection has begun. She's no longer trying to prove a point, she's trying to understand her feelings. Instead of tension, there's ease. Instead of resistance, there's curiosity. Curiosity opens doors that pride once kept shut. Maybe she used to take hours to respond with a flat sure, and now replies, "Sure, that actually sounds fun." Notice the difference. One is obligation, the other is openness. Maybe she adds a laughing emoji, where before there was silence. Small changes, big meaning. In female psychology, emotional shifts show up subtly before they show up clearly. The key: remain steady. Don't become overly excited. Don't flood her with messages just because she sent a warmer one. That signals instability. A high-value man maintains pace. He matches energy. He doesn't overwhelm it. That is how you attract women long-term. Consistency over intensity, presence over pressure. Masculine energy is not loud. It is controlled. It doesn't beg for reassurance. It lets emotions unfold naturally. When her tone softens, your role isn't to push aggressively, it's to create safety through calm, grounded strength. Be relaxed. Be lightly humorous. Show that you are unaffected, but open. That balance is quietly powerful. Understand this clearly. When resistance fades from her voice, emotional walls are lowering. Walls don't lower unless trust is being rebuilt. That doesn't mean she's fully back. It means she's reconsidering. The emotional climate is shifting, and climate always changes before the forecast becomes obvious. If you want to attract women and embody true masculine energy, focus less on what she says and more on how she says it. Tone reveals what pride hides. Stay composed. Stay disciplined. That is the behavior of a high-value man. When you remain steady while she softens, you give her space to move closer without feeling pushed. When you stop initiating, step back. Let silence replace your usual effort, and she reaches out. That is not random. That is information. Psychology in motion. If you withdraw attention and she moves closer, you are witnessing attachment reveal itself in real time. Humans respond to perceived loss. As William James said, the greatest weapon against stress is the ability to choose one thought over another. You chose restraint over reaction, and her response tells you more than 100 emotional conversations ever could. This is not about manipulation or tactics. It's about clarity. If your absence creates movement, your presence had value. If your silence sparks curiosity, your voice mattered. If she didn't care, your distance would have been neutral. It would have gone unnoticed. In a world where attention is currency and everyone is flooded with options, time and focus are investments. When you remove yours and she notices, that is data. Do not ignore it. Do not overanalyze it. Observe it. As Epictetus taught in Stoic wisdom, it's not what happens to you but how you react that matters. React with composure, with discipline, with an iron mind. Many men between 35 and 70 learn this the hard way. Over-pursuit kills mystery, constant initiation kills balance, and chasing reassurance kills attraction. Pulling back is not punishment, it is calibration. It resets the dynamic, it exposes truth. If she fills the gap, she values the connection. If she doesn't, you have your answer without begging. That is strength. That is self-command. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You cannot force her to return. You cannot demand effort, but you can control your availability. You can control your energy. You can decide that your attention is earned, not automatically given." In today's world of instant messaging and endless scrolling, people notice shifts. They notice when the good morning texts stop. They notice when easy validation disappears. And when she reacts to that shift, understand what it means. She felt the change. She registered your absence. That matters. But don't celebrate too early. One message is not commitment. One reaction is not transformation. Stay grounded. Stay centered. This is where Stoicism wins in practice, not theory. You step back. You observe. You let action speak. You maintain your iron mind. Repeat to yourself, iron mind, iron mind, iron mind, because the goal is not to win her back. It is to win yourself back, to reclaim your emotional leverage, to operate from strength, not anxiety. Old Stoic wisdom teaches that attachment without self-control becomes suffering. Controlled distance, however, creates respect. If she moves closer when you step away, that signals interest. If she invests when you pause, that signals value. If she does nothing, that is clarity. Either way you win. You gain truth. You gain self-respect. You gain perspective. In this stage of life, you don't chase signals, you read them. You don't panic over silence, you use it. You don't collapse into overthinking, you stand firm. That is Stoicism in action. That is old Stoic wisdom applied to modern relationships. Pull back with purpose, watch with discipline, respond with strength, and never forget the man who can step away calmly holds the real power, not over her, but over himself. At this stage, subtle signals matter more than dramatic ones. She may show quiet jealousy, a seemingly casual question like, "Are you seeing anyone these days?" Or a small shift in curiosity when you mention a female colleague or a friend who liked your photo. Don't dismiss these as small talk. For men between 35 and 70 who've seen relationships rise and fall, these micro moments carry weight. Jealousy at this level is refined, controlled, measured, a slight pause before she responds, a careful question that is not random, that is emotional investment, quietly showing itself. She's protecting herself while still testing the water. Subtle jealousy is one of the heart's quiet psychology tricks. It gathers information without exposing vulnerability. She may not admit she still cares, but her curiosity about your romantic status signals she is assessing her position in your world. Observe. Stay calm. Read the signals. The question is rarely, "Are you dating?" It's, "Do I still matter?" Jealousy at this stage isn't about possession, it's about relevance. When a woman has truly moved on, she doesn't investigate or compare. Indifference is quiet and clean. Even small doses of jealousy indicate attachment that hasn't fully dissolved. Many men misread this. They either overreact, trying to provoke more jealousy, or underreact, ignoring it entirely. Don't play games. Don't manipulate. Real strength is steadiness. If you're learning to fall in love in a wiser way, you see jealousy not as drama, but as data. It tells you she's still emotionally invested. It tells you her story isn't finished. Psychology tricks are not always manipulative. Sometimes they're protective mechanisms. She tests your availability to test her own feelings. She notices how you respond, confident or hesitant, open or evasive. Your composure matters. Your steadiness signals value. Understanding this allows you to respond strategically, not react emotionally. Subtle jealousy, when read correctly, is not a threat. It's information. It keeps you centered, attractive, and ahead of the emotional curve. Look for patterns beyond words. She improves herself publicly. More gym posts, early morning workouts, books on discipline, captions about growth, photos celebrating milestones. On the surface, it's self-improvement, but timing matters. Growth that becomes visible right after distance is rarely coincidence. Sometimes it's signaling, "Look at me, see what you're missing." When someone wants a second chance, they rarely beg outright. They present an upgraded version, raising perceived value without saying a word. This is female psychology in motion, subtle, strategic, and measurable if you know how to read it. Your task is to remain steady, disciplined, and anchored in yourself. Observe, don't chase, respond, don't react. That is subtle, strategic, and if you are a high-value man, you must read it clearly without flattery, without being fooled. Mature women understand presentation. They know attraction is not just visual, it's emotional and psychological. They don't ask for validation, they demonstrate transformation. More discipline, more confidence, more polish. It is intentional, not random. This is where masculine energy matters. Don't react impulsively. Don't rush back just because she looks better or sounds wiser. Be grounded. A high-value man does not chase improvement displays. He evaluates consistency. Is this change sustained? Is it internal or is it performance? Real growth is quiet, steady and long-lasting. Signaling is amplified and timed. You observe patterns, not posts. Many men make the mistake of interpreting visible self-improvement as automatic readiness for reconciliation. Not always. Sometimes it's genuine reflection. Sometimes it's a general attempt to attract attention. Sometimes it's a carefully aimed signal meant specifically for your eyes. That is why you stay centered, calm, controlled. You don't compete. You don't try to outshine. You simply continue evolving privately, powerfully, and steadily. Ironically, that is what attracts women. She sees you composed yet progressing, unmoved yet evolving. She feels contrast. If she upgrades publicly, your job is to upgrade privately. That is strength, that is confidence. When someone showcases change, the question is not has she improved, the question is has she transformed. One is cosmetic, the other is character. As a high-value man, you discern the difference. Attraction built on masculine energy is about embodying standards, not reacting to signals. When you consistently do this, you attract women naturally, not by chasing, not by proving, but by being solid. Watch calmly, appreciate growth. Do not be dazzled by presentation alone. Real change is proven over time. That is the frame you hold. You no longer react. You read the game with discipline. When she levels up publicly, showcases wins, highlights growth, it is often strategic visibility. It's her way of saying, notice the upgrade. Do not be impressed too quickly. Don't chase the glow-up. Be the man who evaluates, not the man who rushes. Showing improvement is a test. Does she still qualify in your world? As a high-value man, that answer guides your decisions. Sign number 9 is subtle but powerful. She keeps the door slightly open. Phrases like maybe one day we'll talk again or I don't know what the future holds are not closure, they are placeholders. A woman who is truly finished speaks in conclusions, not possibilities. When a chapter is closed, there is no poetic language, no soft someday. Finality is clear. When she leaves with philosophical space, she preserves emotional space. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That is your frame, your leverage. Do not chase the open door. Recognize it, let it sit. In modern life, especially with text and social media, doors are rarely slammed shut completely. This language is intentional. It allows her to protect her pride while keeping access. It lets her walk away without burning the bridge. And bridges, when preserved, are powerful. When there is a possibility of crossing paths again, this is where old Stoic wisdom becomes your edge. The untrained man hears maybe one day and rushes forward. The disciplined man with an iron mind hears it and becomes still. He understands that uncertainty is not rejection, it is hesitation mixed with curiosity. He does not pressure, he does not demand clarity. He strengthens his position. Remember what Epictetus taught. No great thing is created suddenly. Reconnection, if it happens, will not happen because you pushed it, will happen because you remained grounded, composed and valuable. When she says, I don't know what the future holds, she is telling you the vault hasn't been emotionally sealed. People who are truly done do not reference the future together. They detach language, vision, and possibility. If possibility remains, emotion remains. That is the principle, the pattern. In today's world, relationships often end, not with explosions but with quiet drifting. Ambiguous statements are signals. Learn to read them without reacting. Be steady, be centered. That is stoicism in real time. The man who masters this moment gains an advantage most men throw away. Do not beg for guarantees. Do not ask her to define someday that signals insecurity. Instead, build momentum in your own life. Improve your health. Expand your social circle. Advance your purpose. Let her see, directly or indirectly, that your life moves forward. An iron mind does not cling to half-open doors. It becomes the house worth re-entering. When she senses you are not frozen in the past, when she sees your emotional state is not dependent on her validation, the door she left slightly open gains weight. It becomes real. Old Stoic wisdom teaches detachment from outcomes, not detachment from standards. Hold your standard. Remain composed. Treat ambiguity as information, not invitation. There is a difference. Many men between 35 and 70 understand this deeply. Life has taught them that words are rarely accidental, especially from women who value dignity. If she leaves space in her words, she is leaving space in her emotions. That does not mean she returns tomorrow. It means the story is not fully archived. Your job is not to reopen it forcefully. Your job is to become so grounded, self-contained and purposeful that if she revisits that open door, she finds strength on the other side. Victory here is internal. Control your reactions, control your pace, control your focus. That is Stoicism win. Operate from calm, decisive, unattached energy. You stop fearing whether she will return. You realize that if she does, it will be because you remained the man who never needed to chase an uncertain future. You mastered yourself, and that is always the real win. Sign number 10 is subtle but powerful. She responds quickly, even if her message is short, even a simple "hey" or "that's good to hear." Don't underestimate speed. Speed tells a story. She may not be initiating conversations. She may not flood your phone with paragraphs, but when she answers almost immediately, that is priority. In a world where messages sit unopened for hours, a fast reply is a decision. It means your name still sparks attention. It means you are not buried under indifference. It means you are still emotionally relevant. Relevance is everything in female psychology. A woman who feels nothing will not rush to respond. She will wait until it's convenient. She may match you with cold delay. But when her response is quick, even if brief, it signals she was already thinking of you, already holding mental space for your presence. This is one of those quiet psychology tricks life teaches. If you pay attention, don't focus only on message length. Focus on timing. Immediate acknowledgement carries warmth. Delayed indifference feels heavy, distant, mechanical. Immediate response feels alive. Many men over 35 miss this because they look for dramatic confessions instead of subtle behavior. Don't be observant. Be calm. Read patterns, not fantasies. Emotion shows up in small, controlled gestures rather than grand declarations. She may protect her pride, guard her vulnerability, but priority is hard to hide. When someone matters, they move quickly. Think about it in your own life. When a message comes from someone you truly care about, you feel the urge to check it. You feel the pull, and that same pull works both ways. If she replies quickly, especially consistently, it means your emotional footprint hasn't disappeared. It also shows she's still open to connection, even if she's cautiously testing the waters. This is where psychology becomes practical wisdom. Don't chase harder. Don't flood her with follow-up texts just because she answered fast. Stay steady, match her energy, and let the conversation breathe. That's how reconnection actually grows, not through pressure, but through calm presence. Attraction at this stage can be delicate. If she replies quickly but keeps it short, she may be observing you, checking whether you've changed, whether you're emotionally centered and composed. Don't ruin that moment by overanalyzing or demanding deeper conversation. Stay grounded. Short and fast is better than long and cold. That's a rule many people miss. Timing often reveals more than vocabulary. A quick "sounds good" sent in 30 seconds says more than a paragraph that arrives 12 hours later. It says you're still on her mind. It says she cares enough to respond now instead of later. When you understand female psychology at this level, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding with awareness. You notice the pattern instead of panicking. Falling in love again the right way isn't about forcing emotion. It's about recognizing mutual investment and allowing it to grow slowly. If she consistently answers you quickly, she's choosing engagement. That's not accidental, and it's not simple politeness. It's interest wrapped in restraint. So don't ignore it, but don't exaggerate it either. Be the calm man who notices, appreciates, and keeps moving forward with quiet confidence. Speed matters. Priority matters. Emotional relevance matters. When you combine awareness of psychology with maturity about relationships, you stop guessing and begin leading yourself with clarity. Sign number 11 is quiet, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. She begins mirroring your emotional energy. If you're calm, she's calm. If you're warm, she gradually warms up too. That isn't coincidence. That's subconscious bonding. Human beings naturally mirror those they feel connected to. When a woman starts matching your tone, pace, and emotional rhythm, it often means she's tuning back in. Think of it like two instruments slowly returning to harmony. At first the notes are cautious, measured, but when the pitch begins to match and the tempo aligns, something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Mirroring is one of the most powerful psychological signals, and it rarely lies. If she were completely detached, she wouldn't adjust. She wouldn't care enough to match your calm or respond to your warmth. She would remain distant and emotionally flat. But when you soften your tone and she softens hers, when you add light humor and she laughs again, when you slow the conversation and she follows your pace, that's connection, quietly trying to rebuild itself. Emotional mirroring isn't performance, it's instinct. It's the mind and body saying, "I feel safe enough to synchronize with you," and safety is the foundation of attraction. Many men over 35 miss this because they expect dramatic signs, long confessions, emotional speeches, obvious vulnerability. Don't fall into that trap. A high-value man doesn't wait for fireworks, he reads patterns. Masculine energy is steady, centered, and calm. When you hold that frame, she feels it, and if she starts mirroring it, she's stepping back into your emotional orbit. For example, if you respond with calm confidence instead of tension, and she gradually lowers her defensiveness, that's mirroring. If your messages stay balanced and positive, and she begins matching your tone and length, that's mirroring too. These aren't accidents, they're subtle indicators that attraction hasn't disappeared. It's recalibrating. Don't rush it. Don't spike the energy with neediness. Stay consistent. Masculine energy sets the emotional temperature. If you become reactive, she may mirror that. If you become impatient, she may pull away again. That's why control matters. Not control over her, but control over yourself. When you master your emotional state, stability becomes magnetic. It signals maturity and strength without noise. In female psychology, emotional safety often outweighs dramatic passion. Lead with composure, and connection has space to grow again. When she mirrors you, she's testing alignment. She's checking if your rhythm still fits hers. That is connection trying again, but cautiously. People don't mirror strangers. They mirror those they feel rapport with. If she adjusts to your humor, your calm, your seriousness, she's participating in emotional synchronization. That is not indifference, it's interest, wrapped in restraint. Don't overanalyze every sentence. Be steady. Let the mirroring build naturally. Masculine energy is grounded, predictable, and calm. It creates an environment where she can match you comfortably. When she does, she invests slowly, quietly, and powerfully. Many men misread this. They see her warming up and explode with excitement, overwhelming the dynamic. Don't do that. Stay centered. Let her come closer at her own pace. Mirroring is a bridge forming. If you rush it, you shake it. If you stand firm, she walks toward you. That is how a high-value man rebuilds connection without pressure. That is how masculine energy quietly attracts. Pay attention to emotional alignment. If she reflects your calm positivity and steadiness, take it as a green light, but move with discipline. When she mirrors you, she's not just responding, she's reconnecting. If you remain composed, confident, and consistent, that connection can grow stronger than before. Signs are signals, not promises. They suggest, they point, but they don't guarantee anything. Don't obsess, don't chase, don't sit decoding every emoji, every read, every small move. That path leads to anxiety, not strength. Be steady, be grounded, be the man who remains centered, no matter what. If she's reconsidering, it won't be because you pressured her. It won't be because you analyzed every detail. It will be because she felt your strength, composure, and quiet confidence. Calm presence is attractive. Emotional control is rare, and rare is powerful. If she doesn't return, you still win. Read that again. You still win. You didn't beg. You didn't lose yourself. You stayed dignified. You stayed disciplined. You controlled what truly belongs to you, your mindset. Focus less on her signals and more on your standards. Focus less on guessing her thoughts and more on mastering your reactions. The man who controls his reactions controls his destiny. That is not theory. That is law. Drop a comment. I observe calmly. If this brought clarity, subscribe to Stoicism Win and keep building that quiet, unshakable strength. Stay steady.